Hare Krishna and namaste everyone. So welcome back to our Srimad Bhagavatam reading. So let me share the quiz results for yesterday's little less members today. So, okay. So we have 5 members who have attended the quiz. Good percentage. Atal Prabhu, number 1 position. Sandeep Prabhu, all correct answers. Second, Anshiti, third position, all correct. And then Pinky Mataji and Vidansh with 1 wrong answer. I saw कि दोनों ने गलत एक ही उत्तर दिया कि अलग-अलग क्वेश्चन दिए तो अलग-अलग क्वेश्चन है जो गलत हुए हैं. So I think one person devotee got this question wrong. So the emergency powers were withdrawn actually. This is the right answer. So this is false. And the one devotee got this question wrong. So all answers are correct. So this is the result. And today we have Sandeep Prabhu, who will read Srimad Bhagavatam and take the session for today. So I hand it over to Sandeep Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, dear devotee, Danvatna. So first we start with the prayers. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tashmo Shri Guruve Namah Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Deshatarani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamam Shaloke Bhaktir Bhavlina Ishtaki Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So we are reading chapter 15 and till now we have read that Arjuna was in a dejected mood when he came from Shri Krishna's Nagari. Once he came to know that Shri Bhagwan has disappeared from this world, so he was remembering that the good thing, the merciful things which were done by Lord Krishna to their life. So they were remembering that. And further, we are continuing with the same shlokas, all these. So now we are reading shloka number 8. Yat sanidhav hamu khandav agne adam indram cha samarganam tarsa vijitaya labdha sabha maya krita adbud shilpmaya digvayo aharan nriptayo balim adharvete. Translation: because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with the great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradeva, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Khandav forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Khandva forest, and thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the prince assembled during the performance of Rajsuya Yagya and paid tributes. The demon Medanva was an inhabitant of the forest Khandva, and when the Khandva forest was set on fire, he asked protection from Arjuna. Arjuna saved his life, and as a result of this, the demon felt obliged. He reciprocated by building a wonderful assembly house for the Pandavas, which attracted the extraordinary attention of all state princes. They felt supernatural power of the Pandavas, and thus without grudge all of them submitted and paid tribute to the emperor. The demons possesses wonderful and supernatural powers to create material wonders, but they are always disturbing elements of the society. The modern demons are the harmful material scientists who create some material wonders for disturbance in the society. For example, the creation of nuclear weapon has caused some panic in human society. Maya was also a materialist like that, and he knew that art of creating such wonderful things. And yet, Lord Krishna wanted to kill him. When he was chased both by the fire and by the wheel of Lord Krishna, he took shelter of such a devotee as Arjuna, who saved him from the wrath of the fire of Lord Krishna. Devotees are therefore more merciful than the Lord, and the devotional service, the mercy of a devotee is more valuable than the mercy of the Lord. Both the fire and the Lord ceased from chasing the demon as soon as both of them saw that the demon was given shelter by such a devotee as Arjuna. The demon, feeling obliged to Arjuna, wanted to do him some service to show his gratefulness, but Arjuna declined to accept anything from him in exchange. Lord Shri Krishna, however, being pleased with man for his taking shelter of a devotee, asked him to render service unto King Yudhishthira by building a wonderful assembly house. The process is that by the grace of devotee, the mercy of the Lord is obtained, and by the mercy of the Lord, a chance to serve the Lord devotee is obtained. The club of Bhimsena was also a gift of Mayadanav. So in this shloka, we see that Arjuna is explaining some other examples that how the Pandavas were being blessed by Lord Shri Krishna in their life. Arjuna explaining that how he was able to conquer the Indradeva and then was able to devastate the forest with the help of Agni Deva. How the May demon was saved, and who later built the Mahal for Maharaj Yudhishthir. Here we learned a lesson that devotees are therefore more merciful than the Lord. And in the devotional services, the mercy of a devotee is more valuable than the mercy of the Lord. Lord Krishna wanted to kill Maya demon, but when he took shelter of devotee like Arjuna, then Krishna himself gave him blessing and asked him to serve Yudhishthir Maharaj. तो इस तरीके से जो मैं दानव जहां श्री कृष्ण भगवान को किल करना चाहते थे, लेकिन जब उन्होंने अर्जुन की शरण ली तो श्री कृष्ण भगवान ने ना सिर्फ उनके जीवन दान दिया बल्कि उनको एक सेवा भी दी महाराज युधिष्ठिर के लिए. इसी तरीके से when Jagai and Madhai took shelter of Nityanand Prabhu, when Lord Chaitanya has given order to spread Harinam Sankirtan everywhere, so not only Lord Chaitanya उनको जीवन दान दिया, but उनको गले लगाकर सब सारे उनके sinful जो भी activities थे, जो भी उनके कर्म थे sinful, वो सब उनको in one go सब कुछ clean कर दिया. In this shloka, we also learned that the process is that by the grace of devotee, the mercy of the Lord is obtained, and by the mercy of the Lord, a chance to serve Lord's devotee is obtained. So whenever we find a chance to meet or see a Vaishnava, we must be humble to oblige the Godhead, because only because of Shri Krishna, only because of his mercy, we could get opportunity to meet or serve his devotees. We should not think that it is only due to our endeavor that we get the opportunity to meet the Vaishnavas. And same, we can see that only by the mercy of Shri Krishna and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we can chant Harinam and we can come near to Shri Krishna. So moving to next shloka. So Nidhi Mataji, you can read.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yatejis niripashira Shirongrim ahan makharatam Aryo nujastava gajuta satva virya Tenariti pramatma natha makhaya bhupa Yanmochitas tad anyan balim advarete. Translation: Your respectable younger brother, who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants, killed by his grace Jarasandh, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings had been brought for sacrifice in Jarasandh's Mahabhairav Yagna, but they were thus released. Later, they paid tribute to your majesty. Purport: Jarasandh was a very powerful king of Magad, and the history of his birth and activities is also very interesting. His father, King Brihadarath, was also very prosperous and powerful king of Magad, but he had no son. Although he married two daughters of the king of Kashi, being disappointed in not getting a son from either of the two queens, the king, along with his wife, left home to live in the forest for austerities. But in the forest, he was benedicted by one great rishi to have a son, and he gave him one mango to be eaten by the queens. The queens did so and were very soon pregnant. The king was very happy to see the queens bearing children, but when the right time approached, the queens delivered one child in two parts. Uh, one from each of the queen's womb. The two parts were thrown in the forest where a great she demon used to live, and she was glad to have some delicate flesh and blood from the newly born child. Out of curiosity, she joined the two paths, and the child became complete and regained life. The she demon was known as Jara, and being compassionate on the childless king, she went to the king and presented him with the nice child. The king was very pleased with the she demon and wanted to reward her according to her desire. The she demon expressed her desire that the child be named after her, and thus the child was surnamed Jarasandh, or one who was joined by Jara, the she demon. In fact, the Jarasandh was born as one of the parts and parcels of the demon Viprachiti. The saint by whose benediction the queen bore the child was called Chandra Kaushika, who foretold of the child before his father Brihadarth. Since Jarasandh possessed demonic qualities from the birth, naturally he became a great devotee of Lord Shiva, the lord of all ghostly and demonic men. Ravan was a great devotee of Shiva, and so also Jarasandh. He used to sacrifice all arrested kings before Lord Mahabhairav, Shiva, and by his military power he defeated many small kings and arrested them to butcher before Mahabhairav. There are many devotees of Lord Mahabhairav or Kar Bhairav in the province of Bihar, formerly called Magad. Jarasandh was a relative of Kamsa, the maternal uncle of Krishna, and therefore, after Kamsa's death, King Jarasandh became a great enemy of Krishna, and there were many fights between Jarasandh and Krishna. Lord Krishna wanted to kill him, but he also wanted that those who served as military men for Jarasandh might not be killed. Therefore, a plan was adopted to kill him. Krishna, Bhim, and Arjun together went to Jarasandh in the dress of poor Brahmins and begged charity from King Jarasandh. Jarasandh never refused charity to any Brahmin, and he performed many sacrifices also. Yet he was not on a par with devotional service. Lord Krishna, Bhim, and Arjun asked Jarasandh, for the facility of fighting him. And it was settled that Jarasandh would fight with Bhim only. So all of them were both guests and combatants of Jarasandh. And Bhim and Jarasandh fought every day for several days. Bhim became disappointed, but Krishna gave him hints about Jarasandh being joined together as an infant. And thus Bhim dissected him again and so killed him. All the kings who were detained in the concentration camp to be killed before Mahabharata were thus released by Bhim. Feeling thus obliged to the Pandavas, they paid tribute to King Yudhishthira.
Thank you, Mataji. So in this shloka, again, Arjun is remembering another blessings from Lord Krishna. Jarasandh was father-in-law of Kansa, and Kans was killed by Lord Krishna. So he became his great enemy, and there were so many fights between Jarasandh and Lord Krishna. So जितनी भी फाइट्स हुई, कृष्ण भगवान ने सोचा कि वो जितने भी पापी हैं जरासंध उनको इकट्ठा करेंगे और कृष्ण भगवान को ये काम नहीं करना पड़ेगा ताकि जितने भी पापी हैं उनका वो नाश कर सके। तो धीरे धीरे ये सब चलता रहा, लेकिन एक टाइम आए जब कृष्ण भगवान को लगा कि अब जरासंध का भी वध करना उचित है। तो कृष्ण भगवान ये भी सोच रहे थे कि जो उनकी सेना है उनको कुछ हानि ना हो, तो इसलिए उन्होंने भीम को आगे किया। और हमने देखा कि जब भीम was disappointed after fight of many days, then Lord Krishna himself provide him hint that how he can kill Jarasandh, and that was done. And because of that, all those prisons were get freed, and all were happy. And Arjuna and Bhima was getting the blessing of Lord Krishna. So moving to next shloka, Roni Prabhu, if you can read.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Atanyastava kalpata mahabhisheka Slaghishtacharu kabaram kitave sadhyam Sparshtam vikirya padayo patikshu mukhya Yastat shriyo akrita patisha vimukta keshaha. It was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Ratsya sacrificial ceremony. At that time, she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes. Queen Draupadi had a beautiful bunch of hair which was sanctified in ceremonial function of Ratsya Yagya, but she was lost in a bed. Dushasan touched her glorified hair to insult her. Draupadi then fell down at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna decided that all the wives of Dushasan and company should have their hair loosened as a result of the battle of Kurukshetra. Thus, after the battle of Kurukshetra, all the sons and grandsons of Dhritarashtra died in battle, and all the wives of the family were obliged to loosen their hair as widows. In other words, all the wives of the Kuru family became widows because the Shasan insulting a great devotee of the Lord. The Lord can tolerate insults from himself by any miscreants because the father tolerates even insults from the son. But he never tolerates insults upon his devotees. By insulting a great soul, one has to forego all the results of pious acts and benedictions also.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So in this shloka, we learned that Lord can tolerate insult of himself, but he can't tolerate the insult of his devotees. We learned that when Durvasha Rishi was trying to create problems for Ambarish Maharaj, then Shri Krishna Bhagwan tried to kill him with his Sudarshan Chakra, and वो कई लोकों में गए, विष्णु भगवान के, शंकर भगवान के पास गए, ब्रह्मा जी के पास गए उसके लिए, अपने जीवन दान के लिए। लेकिन क्योंकि उन्होंने परेशान किया था, वो कष्ट पहुंचाना चाह रहे थे भगवान विष्णु के भक्त को, तो विष्णु जो सुदर्शन चक्र था वो उनको मारने के लिए दौड़ रहा था, लेकिन जब उन्होंने विष्णु की शरण ली तो उन्होंने भी ये कहा कि आप मेरे भक्त के पास जाइए, तभी आपका बचाव हो सकता है। तो चीजें यहाँ पर बताई गई है कि हमने कई जगह पे पढ़ा कि जब भगवान अपने भक्त के लिए कितना आगे चले जाते हैं, उनके सेवा के लिए या उनको बेनिडिक्शन देने के लिए, उनको कुछ मर्सीफुल होने के लिए उनके पास। लेकिन यहाँ पर हमने एग्जाम्पल देखा कि अगर भगवान के भक्त को अगर कोई नुकसान पहुंचाने की कोशिश करता है, चोट पहुंचाने की कोशिश करता है, तो भगवान उसको क्षमा नहीं करते हैं। और यही चीजें हम उसमें भी देखते हैं नाम अपराध में, कि जो हमारा पहला नाम अपराध है कि हमें भगवान के भक्तों की ना तो निंदा करनी चाहिए, ना उनको किसी तरह का अपमान करना चाहिए। क्योंकि अगर ऐसा होता है, अगर हम भगवान के भक्त का अपमान करते हैं, तो मनुष्य के ना सिर्फ सभी पुण्य कर्म या फिर उसके जितने भी संचित पूंजी है, भगवान उन सबको नष्ट कर देते हैं। हरे कृष्णा। So anybody else want to read, or otherwise I will continue?
Prabhu, I can read.
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
यो नो जुगोपवन एति दुरंत कृच्छाद दुर्वाससोरि रचितद अयुताग्रभुग्यः शाकन् शिष्टम् उपयुज्य यतस्त्रिलोकिं तृप्तम् अमांस्ता शरीरे विनिमग्न संगः. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting food, thus the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied. Durvasa Muni, a powerful mystic Brahman, determined to observe the principles of religion with great vows and under strict austerities. His name is associated with many historical events, and it appears that the great mystic could be both easily satisfied and easily annoyed like Lord Shiva. When he was satisfied, he could do tremendous good to the servitor, but if he was dissatisfied, he could bring about the greatest calamity. Kumari Kunti, at her father's house, used to minister all kinds of services to all great Brahmanas. And being satisfied with her good reception, Durvasa Muni benedicted her with the power to call any demigod she desired. It is understood that he was a plenary incarnation of Lord Shiva, and thus he could be either easily satisfied or annoyed. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and by Lord Shiva's order, he accepted the priesthood of King Shwetaketu because of the king's performance of sacrifice for 100 years. Sometimes he used to visit the parliamentary assembly of the heavenly kingdom of Indradev. He could travel in space by his great mystic powers, and it is understood that he traveled a great distance through space, even up to the Vaikuntha planets beyond material space. He traveled all these long distances within 1 year during his quarrel with King Ambrish, the great devotee and the emperor of the world. He had about 10,000 disciples, and wherever he visited and became a guest of the great Kshatriya kings, he used to be accompanied by a number of followers. Once he visited the house of Duryodhan, the enemy cousin of Maharaj Yudhishthir. Duryodhan was intelligent enough to satisfy the Brahmins by all means. Duryodhan was intelligent enough to satisfy the Brahman by all means, and the great Rishi wanted to give some benediction to Duryodhan. Duryodhan knew his mystic powers, and he knew also that the mystic Brahman, if dissatisfied, could cause some havoc, and thus he designed to engage the Brahman to show his wrath upon his enemy cousins, the Pandavas. When the Rishi wanted to award some benediction to Duryodhan, the latter wished that he should visit the house of Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was the eldest and chief among all his cousins. But by his request, he would go to him after he had finished his meals with his queen, Draupadi. Duryodhan knew that after Draupadi's dinner, it would be impossible for Maharaj Yudhishthir to receive such a large number of Brahmin guests, and thus the rishi would be annoyed and would create some trouble for his cousin Maharaj Yudhishthir. That was the plan of Duryodhana. Durvasa Muni agreed to this proposal and he approached the king in exile according to the plan of Duryodhana after the king and Draupadi had finished their meals. On his arrival at the door of Maharaj Yudhishthir, he was at once well received, and the king requested him to finish his noontime religious rites in the river, for by that time, the foodstuff would be prepared. Durvasa Muni, along with his large number of disciples, went to take a bath in the river, and Maharaj Yudhishthir was in great anxiety about the guests. As long as Draupadi had not taken her meals, food could be served to any number of guests. But the rishi, by the plan of Duryodhan, reached there after Draupadi had finished her meals. When the devotees are put into difficulty, they have an opportunity to recollect the Lord with rapt attention. So, Draupadi was thinking of Lord Krishna in that dangerous position, and the all-pervading Lord could at once know the dangerous position of his devotees. He therefore came there on the scene and asked Draupadi to give whatever food she might have in her stock. On her being so requested by the Lord, Draupadi was sorrowful because the Supreme Lord asked her for some food and she was unable to supply it at that time. She said to the Lord that the mysterious dish which she had received from the sun god could supply any amount of food if she herself had not eaten. But on that day, she had already taken her meals and thus they were in danger. By expressing her difficulties, she began to cry before the Lord as only a woman would do in such a position. The Lord, however, asked Draupadi to bring up the cooking pots to see if there was any particle of foodstuff left. And on Draupadi's doing so, the Lord found some particle of vegetable sticking to the pot. The Lord at once picked it up and ate it. After doing so, the Lord asked Draupadi to call for her guests, the company of Durvasa. Bhima was sent to call them from the river. Bhim said, "Why are you delaying, sirs? Come on, the food is ready for you." But the Brahmanas, because of Lord Krishna's accepting a little particle of food, felt sumptuously fed, even while they were in the water. They thought that since Maharaj Yudhishthir must have prepared many valuable dishes for them, and since they were not hungry and could not eat, the king would feel very sorry. So it was better not to go there, and thus they decided to go away. This incident proves that the Lord is the greatest mystic, and therefore he is known as Yogeshwar. Another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord, and the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, will be satisfied because of Lord's being satisfied. This was the way of devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So here we learned that whenever a devotee is in problem, is in difficulty, so he can recollect the Lord Krishna. Even जो कुंती महारानी है, उनकी prayers भी यही थी कि उनको problems मिले, difficulties मिले, so that she can always remember the Godhead. And here we see that Lord Krishna is so merciful that when Draupadi was in problem, उन्होंने सिर्फ उनको याद किया और उनको ऐसा लगा कि जैसे वो बस उनके साथ ही खड़े थे, वो उनके पास आए. And just Shri Krishna Bhagwan took only a particle of food stuff, and with that 10,000 से ज़्यादा ऋषियों का पेट भर गया. They were fully satisfied. So we learned that every householder must offer food to Lord Krishna so that the satisfaction can come into the food. and we can satisfy whoever takes that food. So यहाँ पर हम जान सकते हैं कि जैसे एक बड़ा पेड़ है तो उसके सिर्फ जड़ों में पानी दिया जाता है, एंड फिर यहाँ पे टहनियों में, पत्तों में, फूलों में, फलों में, हर जगह चीजें पहुंच जाती है। तो श्री कृष्ण को सिर्फ अर्पण करने से हमें पूरा सेटिस्फेक्शन मिलता है। हरे कृष्णा। So time is up. Any comments or question? Otherwise we can close it. So thank you for joining. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarni Vanchakalpatarubhishcham कृपा सिंधु भयवच पतितानां पावनेभ्यः वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। थैंक यू। हरे कृष्ण।